Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Mechabellum Engine Room Chat. I'm your host, Stoney. Season 2 has just launched, and wow, it has caused quite a stir. While there are many great new improvements to the game, I think the real talk of the town has been the Raiden. Now, in this episode, we've invited Bearlike to share his insights and stories behind the new units and changes, as well as his vision for how the season will shape up. We'll ask him some tough questions about unit balance, and as a bonus, we'll also hear from 4 of Mechabellum's top players about their thoughts on the new season and their predictions for where the meta is heading. So grab your coffee or wine, depending on where you are in this world, and let's get this show started. To start, here's what happened in Mechabellum in the last 2 weeks, aside from season launch. So we've just finished the 2v2 Rust and Furious tournament yesterday, and I want to say congratulations to the top 3 teams. So we have Team 501, 501, 501 by Ensako and Forgotten Arbiter taking the champion of this tournament, and then that's followed by Woods Minions by Chemtrails and Skay taking second place. And we also have Steel Sang and Play Archer and their team Flat White taking the third place. News from Mag 1. So for those of you who don't know about Mag 1, they are actually a group of very talented individuals that have organized a professional grade tournament. So Rust and Furious is more of a community tournament. We had entries from 500 MMR all the way to 2500 MMR, but Mag 1 is the real deal. So, and they've been doing tournament for about the last 3 to 4 months, and they've just finished season 1 and they're now getting to season 2. And there's also a lot of interesting things happening outside of just high-level players competing against each other. On December 28th, they've hosted the Christmas Classic Pro-Am, and this is a format where pro players coach amateur players live during a competition. So if you are interested in learning some of the strategies that the pro players deploy, make sure to check out their next one. They've had a game also on the 28th, pitting top players from the 501 and 201 servers to compete against each other for $500, and Apuchi won that one. And right now they are starting season 2 of the Mag 1 tournament. So we've just kicked off yesterday with the first group of season 2. Next Saturday on January 11th, there will be Group B. So if you're interested in checking them out, they are live on Twitch. The handle is just Mag1 Live, and they also have a YouTube channel. And right now, I think Rooster is heavily involved in it. So if you ever see Rooster streaming on a Saturday, just check him out, and chances are you'll catch him casting the Mag 1. And the third thing is a personal plug. I just want to say that I've been working on a tutorial series that really helps new players to understand deeply like what Mechabellum is about. So right now there are 7 videos in this series. I'm looking to add many more, and the goal is to help new players to build the confidence and really to get to 1800 MMR, where I think is the sweet spot where you can freely express your ideas and your strategies onto the battlefield. So it is now live on YouTube, and make sure to check them out and leave comments, because this is my first tutorial series of its kind. So I do need you to tell me what do you like or what you don't like about this tutorial. So without further ado, let's jump into the meat of today's podcast, and that is grilling Bearlike on season 2. And we're going to talk about the stories behind the new units and the vision for where this season is going. So let's welcome the game lead and the visionary behind Mechabellum, Bearlike, to join the cast.
Hi, Stoney. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Bearlike. All right, so let's just talk about the elephant in the room, right? Let's talk about the Raiden. First of all, before we get into the unit balancing and how it performs in the battlefield, I'm curious, what is the idea behind this unit? What is the inspiration? Why did you make this unit in the first place?
Yeah. We generally, when we design units, there's basically two reasons for us to make a new unit. One is whatever is cool. If we think such unit is cool, we'll add those kind of unit, and we will figure out what it do later, as long as the concept is cool. The other reason is we will add new unit to fill a missing role in our game. So Raiden is both. First, it's cool to have a lightning god in the game, where it's like also Raiden, the name is means god of thunder, and
question
so
for you, Bearlike. Quick question.
Yeah.
There's been a community divide on how to pronounce the word Raiden or Raiden. Now, from the official creator of this unit, how do you say
it? I thought it was Raiden. I'm not a native English speaker, and I thought it was Raiden, and I think all the Europeans are calling it Raiden. But whenever I saw the North American, here the North Americans, they are calling it Raiden. So I had no idea. I first heard Raiden when I was watching Apuchi's stream. So I was like, is it Raiden? I'm not sure. Google told me it's Raiden, so I guess.
You heard it here, guys. It's Raiden from Bearlike. All right, let's move on. Sorry about the interruption.
Yeah. So for Raiden, first, it is cool. We want someone who can shoot thunder, shoot lightning. So it is cool. And also, when we were designing the unit, the game were lacking of two key roles. One is there's not enough air unit in the game. The second is that there is not anti-mid-sized special unit. So we want an air unit that is especially strong against mid-sized units like sledgehammer and steel balls, all those kind of stuff. So that was the reason behind it. So Raiden was supposed to be weak against chaff and weak against giant. But I guess from all the feedback from all the high MMR players, it probably is not that weak against giant. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of how it's very good against giants, Raiden currently holds in Mechabellum history the fastest nerf with just under 48 hours. So 20% nerf is with just under 48 hours. I'm more curious about the how the story in the office for you, Bearlike, when that actually happened. Was there a discussion? Yeah. Was there a round table talk? Everybody puts their hands up and say we nerf or we don't. Like, how did that happen before you reached that decision in 48 hours?
Yeah, I think I should talk about the last minute buff on the test server first. So we had a last minute buff for Raiden, mainly because people on test server thinks it is too weak. So we basically chain and fork used to reduce more range of Raiden, and also Raiden had less HP. So we increased Raiden's HP, and also the chain and fork tech now reduce less range of Raiden. Those buff actually I think is pretty probably is okay, but there is some hidden buff in the name of bug fixing, which I think is more a problem. So first, my colleague found out that Raiden cannot chain to tower. So we fixed that. So now Raiden can chain to tower, and that is definitely powerful. Second is Raiden cannot chain from air to ground, and it cannot chain from ground to air. So lots of times if like there's only one target on the ground, then the chain won't happen. Even if you have some air unit. So we fixed that too. So now it can chain from air to ground and from ground to air. So those buff was not I did not expecting those. It's just my colleagues think that those are bugs, so they fixed it. But the strength of the Raiden on test server probably Raiden was not that strong, probably because of those two things. So when we fixed it, so it's like became like super strong. So after the public release, we were playing and we were watching all kind of tournaments and watching everybody play, and we found out it is like super strong. So there's 4 of us. So it was pretty late, and we were thinking the Saturday is coming. The in-game tournament gonna start very soon. If we don't change this, Saturday is coming. The in-game tournament it's gonna cause problems. So we decided to change it. So everybody actually agrees to nerf it. We are just not sure about how to nerf it and how much should we nerf it. So that's why it was pretty late. We discussed a lot, and so because Raiden's strength, there's 2 major complaints about Raiden. One is its base stats may be too high. The other complaint is the chain tech. Chain tech may be too powerful and too cheap. So we decided to nerf both. But I guess the nerf to chain probably is not enough. Also, we also probably need to buff ionization. So I think patch to adjust Raiden is coming very soon, probably Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
I think the tower hidden buff is probably the most powerful. It puts Raiden in such a dominant position at asymmetrical aggro because you can get to the tower so quickly and there's virtually no defense against that, right? Because if you put small units to tank because of the chain, then the small units die very quickly. But if you put large units like a fortress in front of the tower, the Raiden doesn't care. It still chains the tower and it still gets the tower debuff. And that's where we've seen in our 2v2 tournament where Sako took quite a few games by playing asymmetrical aggro with Raiden and just go straight for the tower. So I think that one was very powerful. Uncle Lazy was actually talking to me yesterday and he was asking me if I remember Raiden attacks the tower. And I said, I don't remember. But now we know what happens, and now we know why this is in the live production.
Yeah.
Aside from adjusting statistics, like for example, chain or just the attack damage, stuff like that. What do you think of? Is there any non-statistic way maybe to play around with the Raiden?
You mean adjusting
Like
it?
adjusting the Raiden? Yeah.
Yeah, there's there are suggestions like always choosing make the chain always choose the lowest health unit to chain to. That is an interesting thought, and also I think you'll bring this up to me like a while ago, like make the Raiden have a smaller angle attacking angle. That can be interesting. To also, I think the target selection of chain is random and maybe it's too random. So definitely, we are thinking maybe make it all link chain to small target, or maybe we just reduce the chained range or all that stuff. Also, maybe we just bring back the bug where it cannot train to tower. That's now come to think about it. Maybe that is probably for the best. Yeah, we haven't figured out the exactly adjustment to it yet. The chain tag definitely is a problem, but we also think that rhythm without chain is still pretty strong. So I will talk to my colleagues tomorrow about it. My initial thought about adjusting rhythm is just make it attack slower, give it a slower attack speed. That was my initial thought, but since we got so many feedback about the chain tag, we will look into deeper about the chain tags to see how we can change the tag.
Mm-hmm. I do like the chain tech as a mechanic. I think it makes Raiden unique. It's kind of like the Spider Mine on the Tarantula, right? So without this technology, then the unit kind of lose a lot of its shine. Um, but yes, I think there may need a bit more tweaking, especially at the highest level, because right now I think the players figure out very quickly what Raiden is very good for, and it just kept playing that competition. So that's not exactly the greatest thing for a healthy meta. So I do look forward to the future changes. All right, we're going to move on from Raiden, and we're going to talk a little bit about the new Sabertooth. So this is the right now is at least from my time at Mechabellum, I think this is the very first time where a unit has been reworked this hard. I think the last time was the Hacker, where we had a completely different model. Is there any other unit aside from the Hacker and the Sabertooth that had like a complete visual redesign?
All the driver units, we are looking into revamping all the driver units before we bring them to core units. Not all your old rare unit will be a core unit, but we are thinking maybe revamp some of them, revamp some of them and bring them to the core unit. So Typhoon probably is the next one that we want to revamp the model. But speaking of bring rare units in to core units, I think Faster probably is likely to be the next one that we change it from rare unit to core unit. And I do believe Faster can be a important can have an important role in our counter sheet. Generally, when the reason that many units there are rare units is because some of them are not unique enough also some of them do not have enough tech to be a core unit. For a unit to be a core unit, you need to have at least 5 different tech. Ideally, maybe 6, 7. So once we have enough tech for some of them, we will bring them into the core unit. But I do think Firebadger probably won't make it into the core unit roster, because Firebadger probably is too simple. There will be too many tanks in the core unit roster. So, but we will see. We do have there is a trend of making rare unit, changing rare unit into core unit. We are doing it.
So when you're deciding, like let's say for Sabertooth, for example, what's the story behind its visual design? What's the story behind adding more guns to this unit? How did that come about?
Yeah, basically, for Sabertooth, what we were thinking is Sabertooth should be a bigger and stronger tank. So it should have should have be a bigger, stronger sledgehammer. So it should have many more functions than sledgehammer. So sledgehammer, sometimes its strength comes from its number. So like if you have a lot of sledgehammer, it can clear chaff, and it can also deal decent damage. Also, you can link sledgehammer together. So sledgehammer's strength comes, part of sledgehammer's strength comes from its number. But for Sabertooth, we would want it to be a moving weapon platform. So it should be a big tank that have all kinds of different weapons on it. So basically, it's like a Puma's versions of War Factory, something like that. So also we do like big tanks, like what the tank in Command and Conquer, the Monmouth tank, the tank in Warhammer 40k, the Bane Blade, all that stuff. I think basically we like tanks, and we like a big strong tanks. So mounting more weapons onto it is just the way to make it more scary. That's why we add 2 more trides to the Sabertooth, so we can mount more weapon onto it. And there actually are other functions for the new Sabertooth. We haven't finished yet, so there are also other new tech coming to Sabertooth in the future.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Some players in the community have mentioned that now that the Sabertooth is no longer a rare unit, the Sabertooth Specialist feels a little redundant, right? Because you get an extra, especially when you start with 2 Sabertooth and then you get an extra Sabertooth on turn 2. It just feels a little redundant. Is there any plan to change that in the future for that Specialist?
Yes, we are looking into it. We do have like Marksman Specialist or Rhino Specialist. This cannot, although Marksman Specialists give you a level 3 Marksman, so it feels more special than the Sabertooth Specialist. But for now, what we are thinking is that the Sabertooth Specialist, it's still an extra option for player. So, and also like if you start with Sabertooth and on turn 2 you get extra Sabertooth, that actually is pretty strong. But I do understand that this Sabertooth Specialists do not feel that special. So we haven't decided yet. So our principle here is if you have if it is not hurting the game, and player, we probably shouldn't reduce players' option. But I do think we will revamp the Sabertooth Specialist in the future.
All right. Well, let's talk about the next unit change here, which is the boat. The boat got bigger, it got stronger. But when I was playing it, my initial feeling was like this was a bigger unit, but it feels the same in combat. Well, first of all, what is the motivation behind this kind of change? So you're essentially making something bigger without drastically changing its technology. What's the idea behind this?
Yeah, for the boat, for the Overlord, we have always been imagining it to be a bigger unit, like because we want it to be a battleship. So it should be we have always imagined it to be a bigger unit than other giant. And but if we do it earlier, then there's no 400 supply giant units in the game. So Raiden is the opportunity that we're made it possible for us to actually make the Overlord bigger. And for Overlord to be a battleship, to be a starship, I do think that the Overlord already have lots of unique tech, like chain gun and mothership and all that different photon emission, all that stuff. It make it like a very unique unit in the game. Obviously, it is not a new unit, but we do think that with this change, we should make it feel even more center of the battlefield, like make it closer to war factory. Like whenever you put down a war factory, you and your opponent gonna feel it. That we will change it more to that role. Also, we actually did a last minute nerf to bolt. So bolt on test server was having even more stats than the public release. But because when we are deciding the stats of unit, we have this Excel spreadsheet. There's all kind of function in it. So whenever we type some requirement into it, it will calculate the stats of a unit, and we will tweak it based on the calculation. And so the auto calculation actually says that the bolt, the Overlord, should have even more stats. But we were thinking, let's not make it like super strong. So we kind of we want to play it safe, so we reduce some of the Overlord stats. And now, because Raiden is so powerful, we actually have no idea if bolt is strong. So for next patch, we probably wouldn't change Overlord. But once Raiden, once we nerf the Raiden and everything back to normal, then we can we will be able to figure out if Overlord should have more stats, and also I do believe that some production tech like a mothership should be stronger on both, so make it more like a flagship on the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of boats in my games. I think everybody that wants a capital ship just usually goes Raiden these days. Uh, if you look at the stats for the last 2 days, I'll put my money on the stats on the last 2 days for boat users is probably like 80% from Woot. We'll
Yeah.
see. But I do like the 2 points that you made. One is making it more impactful as a battleship with the emphasis on the word battle. I think boat is now such a huge platform, and it looks a little funny that his only gun that it has are these 4 rockets and the upgrade that goes with the chain gun, right? If you think about the Star Destroyer from Star Wars, and then you have all these guns sticking out on his side, and that would be a very cool idea. And then mothership, of course, right? I've heard people that wants to produce like phantom rays. He wants to produce rays, just like put all the experimental boat stuff from survival and put on this one. But I like the direction where both of these are heading towards. They're really fun. The next unit, and this is not something that everybody sees, especially if you don't play 4v4, like free for all or survival a lot, is the Death Knell. So Death Knell is now also in the game. It is a playable unit in the form of a drop, and once it's dropped, of course, then you can build it. What made you release this unit? I mean, this unit has been around for quite some time, but what's the decision for releasing it to the player?
Yeah, we have always had this plan of release those experimental units to survival mode and brawl mode. Basically, we think that because there's lots of rubber banding mechanic in survival and brawl, so we do believe that some OP unit is probably okay in brawl mode, because there's basically we think brawl mode is a fun mode, so all kind of fun but not necessarily balanced stuff should be in the survival mode first. If we think it have if we think it is well balanced, maybe someday we move it to the 1v1 mode. So there will be more those kind of units coming to survival mode, because we have made some wacky units that some of them not even necessary mech. Those are pretty hard to balance for 1v1 mode, so we probably will put them into the brawl mode first. So if you are a brawl mode or survival mode player, there are lots of new wacky, probably not very well balanced stuff coming to you. Yeah.
Maybe not. It might be difficult to balance actually if you put it into 1v1.
Yeah. So yeah.
We also got a new specialist in this season. So we have the intensive training specialist. I like it a lot, actually. I'm always a little hesitant to take elite specialists. I just feel like with chaff being so important, and with elite specialists buying expensive chaff, is just a bit of a downside, especially in the mid rounds. But the intensive training specialist kind of fills that hole. And I do like these kind of changes. So maybe if you can tell us a little bit more about how did this specialist come to be, and is there any more specialists that shares sort of an item associated trait? Because right now we already have 2. We have the missile specialist, and then we have the intensive training specialist. Is there going to be more of these kind?
The story behind the intensive training specialist actually is it starts with another specialist. We actually have made a specialist called Nuke Specialist.
Nuke Specialist.
So, yes. It was
We'll just call
we
it
were gonna
Gandhi.
give. Yeah. Also yes, maybe like a peace loving
Peace loving, we'll call
specialist.
it Gandhi. That nukes everybody.
Yeah. Yes. So we were like we were ready to we have the portrait done and the testing done for the Nuke Specialist. But in the end, I think it will create too much controversial. Like in my word, I think the player base are not ready for this kind of vacation specialist because it's in our test it is not strong. Like it is not a very strong specialist. But I do understand that the ability to wipe out your opponent's board, it will be controversial. So in the end, we decided that maybe we shouldn't add the Nuke Specialist to the game for now. Maybe later we add it to the brawl mode. That can happen, right? The brawl mode basically is an experiment ground at the right now. So since we won't be releasing the Nuke Specialist to the 1v1 mode, so we think we should have someone to replace it. So we were looking into all kind of different battlefield power, all the spells in the game. What spell should be replacing the Nuke? In the end, we think all the damage spell, especially the big damage spell, probably feels a little bit too oppressive or maybe too sometimes too RNG. So we in the end we think let's give player a stable way to make one of his unit be stronger. Let's go for the cultivating units way. So that's where we decided that maybe intensive training specialists could be a good idea. And we immediately found out that it is too weak. So that's why we add 50 supply to it. We think the 50 supply gonna present the player with some interesting choice. So that's how we decided to do the intensive training specialist. Yeah.
Cool. Well, looking forward to more, but not so much Nuke Specialist. I mean, I'd imagine if you introduce the Nuke Specialist, every game is going to be focused on the turn that the Nuke ability becomes available, and then my board just drops like 3 giants because you have such a strong turn, and then if you get 3 giants and do all the HP, and then you win the game. So maybe not Nuke Specialist, but looking for more of different kinds. So at the season 2 preview, we've seen the new Hound unit. So to my understanding, this is the new chaff unit that has the ability to put out fire on the ground, and it is also a anti-chaff kind of unit. Could you tell us a little bit more about what can we expect and when can we expect this unit in season 2?
Yeah, the Hound will come out on February 20th with the 1.3 patch. So the Hound is like ever since the start of the EA, we have added like a dozen new units to the game. So there's lots of new units be added to the game. And none of them are chaff. So basically, after like nearly 2 years, we haven't added a new chaff to the game. So we only have like 3 chaff: a crawler, fan, and Maston. If we count Wasp as air chaff, then it's 4. So it's basically 4 chaff. 3 of them are starting unit.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that we do not have enough chaff in the game. Also, there's a lack of 100 unit. So basically, there's if we add 100 unit to the game, then the number of starting units will increase. Starting unit pack will increase a lot. So we have been really eager to add 100 chaff unit to the game, and and then that's the we need to figure out what is special for this 100 chaff unit. So that's where we thought, oh, okay, for all the 100 chaff unit, there's none of them are very good against other chaff. So that's why we are make it a chaff clearing chaff, like anti-chaff chaff.
Mm-hmm.
Once we decided that there are lots of concepts experimenting inside the office, and we do like dogs. So
A lot
adding
of
a dog,
dog portraits in Mechabellum.
yeah. Adding a dog or cat into the game, I think it was never a bad choice. So so a still hound, still dog, probably is for the best. Also, during the designing of this, it actually counters other chaff, including Maston, pretty well. It will have armor tag on it.
Wow.
Then, then we are thinking since dog probably is the best friend of man, so maybe let's make it can, other than countering other unit, probably make it helping other unit a little bit. So that's why we think let's make it clear fire and acid. So maybe it can be a good counter to Maston, but let's make it also can help Maston a little bit and help fans a little bit. Also, we do hear all you guys complain about fire. So yeah, so adding a fire clearing unit to the game is, I think it is for the best. Yeah.
Cool. Wow. Armor on a chaff unit. That sounds super powerful. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to see. I'm assuming since it's a chaff unit, it doesn't have a lot of HP, and armor removes 60 from whatever HP it has. That sounds really powerful. But we'll see how it performs on the testing server. Speaking of season preview, one thing that I personally have very much been looking forward to is the regular 2v2 tournament. I know there's been discussions on the testing Discord, but I wonder if there's a decision that's been made on the format and the timing, and also when can we expect the 2v2 tournament in season 2?
Yeah, the 2v2 tournament will come out together with the Hunt on February 20th.
Cool.
With the 1.3 patch. Yes, we have decided on the format. It is the format is very similar to the 1v1 format. So it's basically the same with 1v1 format, but it may be a little bit shorter. Because in 2v2 there's 4 players in every match. So let's say if we have a 100 player in a 2v2 tournament, it will have one less round than the 1v1 tournament. So it will be a little bit shorter than the 1v1 tournament. Other than that, the format is basically the same with with the 1v1 tournament. Also, you can only join the tournament with a pre-made team. The system won't give you a random teammate because we think that if you want to play 2v2 in a tournament, you should find your teammates in the rank, and yeah, so you guys can have a little talk before the tournament starts. Oh, that's yeah.
All right. Well, I am very much looking forward to the 2v2 tournament. Before we wrap up, I have almost an Easter egg question for you, and I wonder if there's some story to it. So here is a screenshot of the new, I guess it's the updated Forest Eye map. So this is the green map with lots of greenery. And one thing I noticed that's changing on this map is that the solar panels have broken off more pieces on the side and also just around the player. So there's a small cosmetic change. I don't know if that was intentional. Like, I don't know if there's a story behind it or you just simply decided to add some additional elements to that map. Like, is there a ongoing story battle behind the scenes that causes the decay of Mechabellum? I'm talking out of my ass, but you tell me.
Yeah. So for the map, there actually isn't a law reason behind it. It's because some of the structure are blocking players' sides, especially sometimes when you get flanked. Your view actually gets blocked by some of the structure in the map, so you cannot see the units that is flanking you. That's why we broke some of the structure, so it won't block players' view on that map. So there's not a law or all that stuff, but we are doing map revamp, especially for the night map, because the night map is units on it is not very easy to see by players. So we are doing a little bit of map revamp, but not much, just a little bit of change. But speaking of law, we are behind the scene. We are doing some law constructing, and also we are also together with the revamp of the music. So we want to redown some of the music and add more music to the game, and also at the meantime we want to add a little bit more law into the game. So because we are adding some new units, some units are not necessarily a mech and all that stuff. So it will be good that we have a law reason for them. So we are like reconstructing and like rebuilding the law of Mechabellum behind the scene. But this probably is will be a theme for us in the next several months. That is, we are adding new team members to the game to do lots of more stuff for Mechabellum, and there is this integration process for every new team members. So during the integration, the productivity won't increase that much, but once we fully integrated all the people I want to add to my team, I would think that lots of new content, including law and music, will come to Mechabellum in a pretty fast pace. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think Mechabellum is not a static game. It's not like chess where you design all the pieces and you design the board and that's the end of the game, and then it's up to the player to figure out what's going on. it is a constantly tweaked, adjusted game. Even without new units and new mechanics, the current meta is being tweaked over time, depending on how the community responds to it. And this is a fantastic platform to do some storytelling, right? Think Helldiver 2 and how their updates is being packaged
Yeah.
as sort of an in-game narrative, and we could totally see something like this happening. If, like, for example, right now, the reason why Raiden is so dominant, and you can, make up a space mercenary core, and then they're talking about how they're introducing these new units, stuff like that, and then that could be very interesting for
Yeah.
the players. So I'm very much looking forward to something like that. And
Yeah.
with that, that is all the questions I have for you, Bearlike, today. Well, thank you so much for joining us. But our podcast is not done just yet, because next we'll be hearing from some of the best players in Mechabellum about their thoughts on the new season so far, and also where the meta is going. So let's dive in.
Hi, Stoney. Hi, Bearlike. Thank you for inviting me as a guest to your podcast. I couldn't be there live, but Stoney did give me 2 questions to answer. So, for the people who don't know me, I am AFKV on Twitch, and I started playing Mechabellum around 2 years ago in the alpha. In season 1, my highest MMR was around 2500, and I was the first Grandmaster. My favorite units are Overlord and Typhoon, and I mean, that's also why I'm here today, I think. I got invited as a guest because of the new bow changes and the new Raiden air unit. The first question was, which change in the Season 2 patch I liked the most and why? So, I was struggling to enjoy Mechabellum in December because everybody was playing Scorpion around 2. I think Scorpion wasn't used a lot in the past because we had a crawler meter for a long time. But now we have Arclights, spiders with high explosive, Fire Badger, Typhoon, Chaff clear is very easy nowadays. So Scorpion became an S tier unit, everybody was picking it. And I was so annoyed. Now that Scorpion got removed, the round 2 drop, the early game feels a lot better to play. And that is by far my favorite change in the new patch. I'm a fan of unit drops having less impact on the game, but I also like is a Sabertooth remake and it being a starter unit. Now, I cannot wait to see the new Hound unit coming next month, removing oil. That will be life-changing. I hope that answers the first question. Stoney's second question is a bit more complex. He asked me what I expect the next big meta to be and why. So I think the Season 2 patch had the biggest impact on the game since 3 units were introduced. I think for a multiplayer game like Mechabellum, it is important to have new interesting updates like this all the time. The new Raiden air unit feels like Mechabellum is a completely new game, and I think it will be the new big meta for a while. Normally, new units in Mechabellum are not strong. They get buffed, but Raiden got nerfed in less than 24 hours after its release. It lost 20% damage. Now, I didn't have too many Raiden games yet, so I'm not sure if Raiden damage is what's too strong, or if it's the AoE that is hitting units behind other units. In my games, I felt like Raiden is a much stronger Overlord unit because Overlord needs text to be efficient and a good overall board that supports the Overlord as a carry unit. Otherwise, Overlord can get stuck on a single crawler and do nothing in the game. Meanwhile, Raiden needs only range. It is much harder to answer Raiden than boats. Raiden doesn't care about anti-air marksman or Mustang spam. People at the moment are just spamming Raiden and winning anyway because of how strong the unit is. Once people also start building good boards around it, it will be the meta for a long time, even after multiple nerfs. And what works for Overlord works for Raiden as well, sometimes even better. Typhoon with shield, Fire Badger with range, Arclights, tanks, and so on. Just protect your Raiden and have good chaff clear. So I think for something to become meta in all MMR ranges, it needs to be easy to play, strong, and fun to play. Raiden is all of that. It's easy to play, it's fun to play, and it's super duper strong. Now, it is not the strongest unit in the game. I think the strongest, most broken unit in the game is War Factory, but luckily not many people know how to use it, so I hope it will never become meta. About the Overlord, I don't have an opinion on the new Overlord yet. I did win a lot playing it, but it feels very different. It feels like the same unit with the same weaknesses, just with better stats. Maybe Overlord should have stayed a 400 cost unit, and Raiden should have been the new big 500 cost unit, since Raiden feels more epic and godlike than both. Overlord is just Overlord. But I mean, I love Overlord anyway. I will love Overlord forever. So I hope that answers the second question as well. Thank you again for inviting me as a guest, and see you on the battlefield.
Hey everyone, Stoney has asked me to answer 2 questions. Which change do I like the most and why? And what do I expect to be the next meta and why? To begin with, my favorite change so far has been the lowering of the value of free unit drops and adding different free unit packs. I think free unit rounds are some of the most crucial moments of a game, and so bringing change to that mechanic is refreshing, and it really impacts the meta. I've been enjoying seeing the new packs, discovering them, and yeah, making new choices during my games, so I would say that is my favorite change so far. As for the meta that I'm expecting, I'm going to break this up in standard, aggro, and defense. Beginning with standard, I think Arclight Worm will remain a staple. Both Arclights and Worms should still be good in this meta. Arclights have received a bit of a nerf, but they're still the best chaff clear unit for their cost. And yeah, Worms didn't receive a nerf, so I think that they will still be really powerful in closing the distance in these long-range games that happen in standard. A potential counter to it might be something like the Marksman with Fang Spawn that we've seen from the 201 region, and I think Melters, of course, if they show up in a free unit round, for instance, might be picked up to try and deal with potential worms. Moving to aggro, we've got a new air unit, Raiden, so I think now we've got a lot of good, powerful air options for the aggro player. We've seen metas where Typhoon Boat has been really powerful, and so I think it will remain the same with the addition of Raiden, lots of air options, and that will allow the aggro players to, well, mitigate some of their problems maybe with spells that remain on the ground, something like oil, they can simply avoid by playing the air comps. So yeah, I'm expecting Raiden to see quite a lot of play in aggro. As for defense, well, I just said it, lots of air units, so defenders are going to need anti-air. I expect Mustangs to be quite prevalent, and then I expect to probably see Raiden being played defensively as well alongside the Overlord. I think that the new Air Giant with the lightning bolts does perform very well, both in aggro and in defense. Either way, that's all from me. And so, yeah, thanks for having me.
I like all the changes in Season 2. I like that the meta is shaking up and the usual moves are changing. I like the nerfs to unit drops and the addition of the Sabertooth to the main pool the most. The game has become more fair for me because of these changes, and I again want to analyze my replays more and not conclude that I lost because of the unit drops. Raiden will remain a pretty strong unit until he is countered well or some balance patch is released to address this. Right now it looks like you're obligated to play Raiden yourself in response to Raiden. Like Sako said in the chat, Discord chat, you have to play Raiden Mirror now in most of cases.
The change in the recent patch that I like the most is the change to the unit drops, especially in the early game. It seems like there's a lot more level 1 drops and a lot more drops where, well, they're cheaper, so they interfere with your plan for the turn less because they're often free, so you have the amount of money that you expect to have, and it's a little bit more flexible taking level 1 units just because Level 1 units tend to be pretty efficient. You don't have to make them your whole part of the team, but you can add them to your comp naturally. And you also don't have to stress yourself playing around some of the scarier level 2 units or level 3 units that your opponent might have in the super early game. I think it makes some units like Sledgehammer and Tarantula much more takeable, where they fulfill their role perfectly fine at level 1 if you're not building your comp around them. But at level 3, there's just too much value you're not really getting out of them, and it's too much of a risk that they're going to give your opponent's carry units lots of experience. So I think that's my favorite change overall. I've seen a lot of early game drops where I'm excited, like by the choice and just that I think there's just more pickable options more of the time, and you're able to play around all of them a little easier. So I like that change a lot. The next question is, what do I expect to be the next big meta and why? Having played on the patch a little bit, I think it's pretty clear that it's going to be a pretty Raiden-focused meta. So you're really looking for units that complement Raiden well, don't get countered by it too hard, and play into it effectively or play against it effectively. So not too much overcommitment into ground-only weapons. So I think Sabertooth is going to be a bit weak, whereas units that have a ground weapon that's good against chaff, like Sledgehammer, can be a bit better, and Arclight, where you're not unhappy to have them in your board, even if your opponent makes an air transition, even if you make an air transition. And I think they already nerfed it a bit, but I think it's going to warp the meta around itself a little bit for the time being. So more techs that are based around countering it, more techs that are based around assuming you have it on your own board. And then I think if that cools down a little bit, we might get into a bit of a boat meta as well, where the Overlord is very, very deploy efficient, very, very cost efficient after the changes, because a lot of it was buffed by a larger percentage than its cost was increased. But with the dominance of the Raiden for now, I think it's a little bit hard to get into boat. But I think it could be pretty dominant once people figure out how to build effective boards that lead into it well without losing to tempo, which could be the problem. Like, the biggest problem with boat is losing to one crawler you didn't quite clear, which was sort of the big problem with Scorpion. But then as people figured out how to make a board that's effective for that transition, Scorpion became quite dominant. And then I also think, for example, units like Scorpion are going to be falling off a bit because the air transitions are just so powerful. So I think it's really, the meta is going to be pretty focused on the ability to shoot air and the ability to complement air. So it'll be an exciting one.
All right, and with that, we conclude episode 2 of the Engine Room Chat. And if you have any suggestions on the format or any new ideas, or if you're doing something fun for the Mechabellum community, shoot me a message on Discord. And I want to thank you all for watching this episode, and I will see you on the battlefield.